So we go to ethnicity. And when we talk about ethnicity, basically we're talking about a type of social identity based on cultural background, shared experiences, and shared lifestyles. That's what ethnicity is. Your cultural background, shared experiences, shared lifestyles. That means you are part of an ethnic group. That is ethnicity. So ethnicity is usually preferable to race because race means an ascribed status. Ethnicity shows that there can be some degree of choice. So we stop using race because race means it's ascribed. It means you're born with it. You can't leave it. It becomes part of you. But when you use ethnicity, it means people could make choices. They could make a choice to be part of that ethnic group. That's why they use ethnicity instead of using race. But they still use the term race. When do they use the term race? I wrote, the term race is still being used when people act as if race did exist. So when people now start acting in a way that you feel like, oh, this person is referring to race, then we start discussing it. Okay. Do you get it? So we start discussing it in terms of racism. So we wouldn't have talked about it if your attitude, your behavior doesn't warrant us to talk about it. So you have behaved in a way to some people that we have to address. And to address it, we have to hit the nail on the head. Do you get it? Yes. So for racism, what does racism mean? It means discrimination against an individual or groups because of their perceived race. That is racism. Then there's racial discrimination, which means an individual suffers disadvantage because of their perceived race. Okay. You get the difference between racism and racial discrimination. Racial discrimination means an individual is disadvantaged. Some group of people are disadvantaged based on their perceived race. Okay. Is it clear? Yes. Then the system we run, the institutions we run. People make the institution, people make the system, yes or no? Good. But sometimes the systems that we run, the institutions that we have, the results they give us is about racism. So we call it institutional racism. So this means the individuals do not intend to be racially abused or to be discriminated, but the system, the institution warrants it. So the structure is made in a way that racism will surface, racism will come out. That's what we call racial institution. Yes. Do you get it? Yes. So here, we call it institutional racism because the institution caused it. Yeah. I think the point is clear. Yes. So that's about that. Then, the only example made here about racism is the event in South Africa until 1994, which is about apartheid, where there's stratification in the system that puts different groups apart. So that's an example of racism. Yeah, I think it's clear. Yes. So the next one we need to talk about is the sociological perspectives of ethnicity. Okay. So we go to sociological perspectives regarding ethnicity. So we're starting with the functionalist. So functionalism and ethnicity. Functionalists see society in terms of stability and consensus based on shared values. Differences in racial groups are dysfunctional, according to functionalists. The problem is seen as temporary, especially if for immigrants who newly arrived in the country, they need assimilation and gradually they adopt the norms and values of the host society. So for functionalists, they don't see ethnicity as a big problem because they consider it to be temporary based on their own consensus and stability, based on stability and consensus of shared values. So what they feel is immigrants are coming to the country. As soon as they come into the society, they are new. So there's going to be a time they have to assimilate the values of that society. And as soon as they are able to assimilate the values of the society, they will not feel inferior anymore. That is according to functionalists. Okay. Do you get it? So you feel inferior. You are a minority ethnic group because you are just coming into the country. Yes. So at that time you came into the country, you need to assimilate to understand how things go within that society, their culture, their values. As soon as you understand it, then you become part of them, then you start forgetting your culture, your own values, then you assimilate. So they see ethnicity as a temporary thing.
Yes.
Do you understand functionalist? Yes.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, there are different ways in which assimilation will come in. So we have 4 ways for assimilation. We have socioeconomic status. For socioeconomic status, it means that members of immigrant groups, at first, when an immigrant comes into a country, they get low-paid jobs, they get unskilled jobs because they are new.
Yes.
But as time goes on, they get high-paid jobs and they get skilled jobs.
Yes.
So that's why for functionalists, they believe ethnicity is just a temporary thing based on assimilation. That's the first assimilation. The second one is about residential concentration. As soon as immigrant comes into a country, the first thing they do is they try to reside closer to their community where they can share values. They can share values and those that know them well from the same country. But as soon as they acclimatize, they start moving away from those communities and start living alone. So they feel they are okay now, that they understand how things work within that society. So it's still temporary. So that's residential concentration. You came into a new country, you stay around those that understand the country, that you share the same values with. And as soon as you acclimatize, you move. So it is temporary. That's residential assimilation. Is it clear?
Yes.
And the third one is language attainment. Newly arrived immigrants are likely to speak their mother language. The next generation may be bilingual, and the next one may prefer not to even speak the language anymore.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes.
I'm new here. The next generation my daughter understand Arabic and English, and the next one might not even want to speak our language anymore. That's language in assimilation. Is it clear?
Yes.
And the last one, intermarriage, according to functionalists. For intermarriage, it said, marriages initially take place within the immigrant community, but over time, more members marry outside the community, which might make it difficult to pass on their culture to the next generation. So, as soon as immigrants come in, they marry within their community. But as time goes on, they get used to the environment, they can marry out of the community. Is it clear?
Yes.
So that's all about functionalism. Then we go to Marxism.
They have a beef with
The society.
With the ruling class.
Yeah, with the capitalist.
You're the capitalist, yeah.
So we go to Marxism and ethnicity. For Marxists, they see racism as a result of capitalist structure, economic structure. Yeah. So they feel that there's always a bad treatment for a certain group of workers, which is a capitalist ideology. So what do they say about this? They believe that the ruling class, they try to persuade the working class that whatever is happening to them is as a result of immigrants or any ethnic minority group that are available. That is why they cannot enjoy what they have to give to them. Okay. So they believe what they're trying to say is that the immigrants are the ones that are taking the jobs away from the working class. So the immigrants are the ones that are putting the working class in the condition that they are. So what happens? The working class sees the immigrants as enemies. So they use them as scapegoats. So that's why you see different racial abuses from working class to immigrants. Do you see how it works? So that's what we call scapegoating. Okay. So what is scapegoating? This is when individual or groups are blamed and sometimes punished for something which is not their own fault. So you see, the ruling class, they persuade the working class that, oh, we are unable to give you everything you wanted because of these immigrants. They are taking your jobs away. Oh. So now the working class start fighting the immigrants, discriminating them. That is about Marxism. I think it's clear. Yes. Then we go to the right wing. For the right wing, they view minority ethnic group as underclass. So we already talked about underclass, below the working class. Yeah. So they believe that for the right wing, because they advocate for free market. Yeah. So they believe the minority ethnic groups they are what they are because they have different multiple deprivation. They have, hold on, please. Sorry, I'm going to take the right wing again. So we'll go to the right wings. and ethnicity. So for the right wings, they view minority ethnic group as an underclass. So they feel they are underclass, and they are the reasons why they are what they are. So they believe that the minority groups have what we call multiple deprivation, like low income, unemployment, poor housing, poor education. So because they are part of this multiple deprivation, they are nothing within the society. You know, for the right wings, they advocated for free markets.
Yeah.
So they feel those in the minority group cannot offer anything. They don't have anything to offer to the society. So as a result, they should be where they are. That is what multiple deprivation is.
Yes.
The second one, they are socially marginal. That means they have what we call social marginality, which means they lack normal means of expressing themselves. Because they don't have education, they are not educated.
Yeah.
They are poor, they live in places that are not, they live in the slum. So they feel inferior. As a result, they cannot express themselves, not talk about exercising their rights.
Yes.
So that means they will continue to be what they are. Do you get the point there? So there's ethnicity because this group of people do not want to improve themselves. That is the point there. You got that?
Yes.
The third one, they also said there's ethnicity because there's culture of fatalism, which means they feel alienated and suspicious of police or other people in authority. They are scared of the police because they are minority group. They are scared of the police. So they feel alienated. They feel they are not part of the society. So that is why they feel, that's why they are ethnic. That's why they are minority.
Okay.
Do you get it? And the last one is that their dependency on the welfare state. So they depend on the welfare state. That means they don't see themselves working hard to get rewarded. So the only reward they wait for is from government.
Yes.
So that's about the right wing towards ethnicity. I think it's clear.
Yes.
So the next one is about ethnicity, education, and employment, and how it influences education, employment, and housing, and how it influences ethnicity.
Right.
So we'll go there now. So for ethnicity, for housing, education, and unemployment.
Yeah.
So here I wrote, education, employment, and housing are three areas of social life in which minority ethnic groups may face discrimination. So when it comes to housing, when it comes to employment and education, these three things are are aspect of the life that ethnic minority groups might face discrimination about. So we're going to start with education. So for education, I wrote, in education, teachers are likely to come from the majority group and stereotype ethnic minority pupils as lazy and deviant. You know, it's a school, education. So they are ruled by the majority group. So the teachers might come from the majority group. And if the teachers come from the majority group, they see the minority pupils as being lazy or deviant. So they stereotype them. So any minority group they see, they feel they are deviant and lazy. So because teacher says you are deviant, you're lazy, it might not allow you to attain educational success. And if you are unable to attain educational success, how can you move up the social ladder? It becomes difficult. That is it. So why is this thing happening? It is happening because people in power and authority, they hold prejudice against these views. They discriminate.
Yes.
Do you understand? In education?
Yes.
Then in housing, for housing, I wrote, where local authorities has a stock of housing available, they prioritize the majority group. So the local government, they have houses in stocks. But the first thing they think about is the majority group. So at the end of it all, the minority group might not be able to have a house. And according to the right wings, they said they are ethnic group, they face discrimination because they live in they have poor housing.
Yeah.
So this poor housing came as a result of government, as a result of social exclusion, because this is social exclusion.
Yeah.
Do you get it?
Yeah.
And the last one is in employment. For employment, applicants for jobs may face discrimination. They may not be called up for interview because their name speaks or says that they are from a minority group. They don't know you, but your name says who you are. So if they see your name as, oh, it's part of the minority group, no, we don't want them to have a say. So they discriminate. That is prejudice.
Yes.
Do you understand? So that's ethnicity, how ethnicity has influence on education, employment, and housing. So without education, without employment, without housing, how can't you will continue to be minority?
Yeah.
Is it clear? So that's where we stop today. The next class, we're going to talk about gender. Thank you.
Wow.